Hey everyone, it's Ken and Gina here from OKportugal.
And Goosey-Goose-Goose.
So we are bringing Goosey-Goose-Goose down to our little dam area so that he can have a little paddle. Oh, he just wiped out. Now we brought him down here about a week ago, and it was the funniest thing. He basically did zoomies underwater. It was the first time that he had ever swum. He went into the water, he bobbed underneath the water and was swimming around in circles under the water, desperately trying to sink, but I think he was a little bit too buoyant. And it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. We managed to get some footage of it a couple of days later, but it wasn't quite the same as his first experience, which was absolutely hilarious.
Good boy.
So we originally bought Goosey-Goose-Goose on his own, and the idea behind that was that he was going to integrate with our chicken flock. And the reason why we want to do that is because our chicken's free range, and they've got 3.5 hectares of free ranging space. Now when the grass gets this tall, it becomes a problem because predators can get quite close. Now we do have a rooster, we do have dogs, but obviously to have a guardian goose integrated with the flock would actually be a really good idea, especially for times like this. So yeah, that was the idea, but it didn't quite work out as we planned. Come on, Goosey. As you can see, this little guy has bonded with us and he follows us all around the farm. And so he hasn't quite integrated with the chicken flock like we were hoping. So today, we're going to try and see if we can find him a mate. So for now, Goosey-Goose-Goose is going back in with the chickens. And we'll see what we could do about getting Goose-Goose a brother or sister. Don't worry, Goosey-Goose. We live between two cities in central Portugal, Fundão and Castelo Branco. We're on our way into Castelo Branco. We're going to go to Agri-Loja, which is an agricultural shop. And hopefully they're going to have some more of these geese, because that's exactly where we got Goosey-Goose-Goose from. It's a beautiful day today. Spring started about 2 weeks ago. It's currently 19.5 degrees Celsius, blue skies, sunny, and absolutely awesome. Right, so we're at Agri-Loja, and this is a cool place to go to buy stuff for your farm or small holding, and hopefully they're still going to have some of these geese left. Right, so they've got a couple more of the geese. They've only got 4 in here, and they've also got some ducks, they've got some guinea fowl, and they've got a whole bunch of chickens. All right, so we've got a little Goosey-Goose-Goose in here, and we're just going to go and pay. Generally, they don't like you filming in shops in Portugal, so I'm just trying to do this a little bit covert. We've already got Goosey-Goose-Goose. I'm not sure what this one's going to be called, but he's going to be on his way to the OKportugal farm. So just before we go home, I've had to stop to get one of these. This is one of the best steaks that you'll find at a supermarket. It's basically a ribeye. You get 2 of them in here for €13.85. But obviously it depends on the weight, but they're very, very good. And Gina has bought some pig's ears, and we give these to the doggies, and they absolutely love those. Right, so let's get home. Let's get little Goosey-Goosey. No, this isn't Goosey-Goosey, this is something else. But let's get the gooses. Let's unite the gooses together. The geese, the goslings. Ah, look how amazing the lake is looking. I definitely have to get down here soon. It's been a long time since I went for a swim in here. This is turning out to be one of the most beautiful days. Look how filthy the car is. It's covered in that Saharan dust. But look, we've got the sheep just in the field over here. And they're all sitting out in the shade. It's my favorite time of year. Just look how amazing the farm is looking. Wow. How amazing does that look? All right, little Goosey-Goose-Goose-Goose. You are going to see the farm for the first time, and you're going to meet your older brother. So Goosey-Goose has just heard this one peeping, and he's getting very excited. Listen. Come on, Goosey-Goose. Goosey-Goose. Wow, Goosey, you are much bigger than this other little one. There we go, Goosey-Goose. Come and meet your sister. There we go, look, you got buddies. He's like, look at the size difference, I can't believe it. This is the first time that this guy's ever going to have seen green grass. Goosey, You got a friend. Oh, don't bite him. Well, there we go. Now we've got a little pair of Goosey-Goose-Gooses. Boykie. This is our big Maine Coon boy cat, and he's very interested in those little peeping sounds. You better be nice to those geese, because when they grow older, they're going to beat the crap out of you if you're not careful. There you go. Okay, so we've got them in here for a little bit of protection, so we don't have to keep our eyes open. They've got some shade, they've got some grass, and we're going to give them some water. It's quite incredible to see the size difference. You know, we got Goosey-Goose on the 25th of March, and now it's Wednesday, the 5th of April. So what's that, like 10 days? And look at the size difference. So Gina has some pig's ears to give the doggies. A frozen pig's ear. One for Mimo. What?
I didn't want it. Take it out.
That's weird.
Cold.
Well, why is she doing that? How strange. They usually love pig's ears.
I think it's just cold.
Mimo, what's going on with your pig's ear? That's very strange. They usually love these pig's ears, and I think it's because it's frozen and it's ice cold. Maybe it's hurting her teeth or something like that. But anyway, if she doesn't eat that soon, the other dogs are going to have it. Yeah, if you give it to them frozen, it lasts for ages. Otherwise, if you give it to them as soft, they chew through it in like a couple of seconds. What's wrong, Mimo? All right, so while the geese sort of settle in and get to know each other out here, I want to show you something. So, we have about 100 olive trees on our farm. And, well, during the season where we were supposed to be trimming them, we did about 20 or so. And then we had like really bad weather. Then we got a lot of property videos and all sorts of stuff. So we weren't able to do trees for a while. So this week, now that the weather's a little bit better, as you can see, I've been pruning. And I've got a lot of stuff that I've done so far. The problem that we have is because the trees haven't been pruned in such a long time, they've grown very tall. And as you can see here, we've got these long vertical shoots. There's hardly any leaves down here at the bottom, and then lots of leaves up on the top. And so I have to cut all of that foliage off. And we're left with very bare ends, as you can see on some of these ones over here. So yeah, it's going to be quite a brutal trim this year, or prune, but it needs to be done. And we have to also get this done before the fire season kicks in. Because as you can see, just one of these trees makes a huge pile. That all has to get burnt, and very soon we're not going to be able to make fires anymore. So that could be a problem. Here's another one just to illustrate what I mean. If I was to cut all of these off, we're going to be left with absolutely no leaves. Obviously the leaves are how the plant or the tree photosynthesizes. And so, you know, it's not going to be a really good prune. It's going to be a little bit difficult, or it's going to look very ugly. Now all the locals, they do the pruning in the wintertime when the tree's dormant. And the problem is that you kind of have to time it before all of the frosts start, because what you don't want is like fresh cuts. And then obviously you get water in there, you get frost, you get funguses and all sorts of diseases and things like that. And so from what I've read, you've got to time it quite well. But you can also do it now in the springtime. And so I thought I'd wait for the spring, I'd wait for slightly better weather. The only problem with doing it in the springtime is you won't get a good harvest, because you're basically chopping off all of that new growth. You're chopping off all of those buds and things that were going to turn into olives. Now we don't really mind that, because we've still got a lot of olive oil left over from our other 3 harvests. So it's not too much of a problem for us. So I've basically done a whole bunch of trees going all the way up. I've done kind of like these 2 rows. We've got to start on these ones a little bit later. Yesterday I only managed to do 8 trees because they're so out of hand that they take absolutely ages. There were some smaller trees in the property that I did like sort of in the winter time, and those didn't take long at all, but each of these big ones is taking me about an hour or so. So 100 trees, 100 hours. Yeah, it's going to take a while. Hey, isn't spring just the best? Look at these cherry blossoms. This is an old battered cherry tree that we thought was dead when we first moved in. As you can see, it's completely rotten and all the bark's coming off. But it still bursts into life every single spring and looks absolutely gorgeous. Right, I'm running a little bit late. It's 10 to 2. I still haven't had lunch. I'm going to braai one of these amazing ribeyes. And you can see the doggies are still enjoying their little icy treat. There we go, Mimo. Good girl. Right, so let's see what we're dealing with here. These are from Orshan, which is in Castelo Branco. And these are basically like a ribeye type cut. I mean, this one doesn't quite look as good as the other ones I bought. It's quite a long sort of shape, but generally speaking, these are like a ribeye cut. As you can see, they're a nice dark color. They've got some good marbling. And we get 2 steaks for $13.85. Pretty good going. Let's get these coals started. Eddie, we're going to eat some steak. Well, let's go and check on the Goosey-Goose-Gooses. There's Mother Goose just over here. And then there's the baby geese.
You're saying I'm Mother Goose.
Ah, that is incredible. Look at the size difference. So when we got the original Goosey-Goose, he was this big. And in 10 days, look at that. I mean, that is phenomenal. He's tripled in size. So we want to say thank you for all of your Goosey-Goose-Goose name suggestions. We have been taking them all into consideration, and we still don't quite know what we want to call the Goosey-Goose-Gooses. Because the problem is that whenever we see the Goosey-Goose and whenever we call the Goosey-Goose, we call it Goosey-Goose-Goose. So, yeah.
That might just stick. They might be called Goose and Goose.
It might be Goosey and Goose-Goose. Yeah. So Gina's got herself a nice salad with some grilled halloumi. She doesn't really like steak. And that's my weapon of choice right over there. Gina, dinner is served.
Yay!
Oh. Well, that was a super tasty lunch. Absolutely love ribeye. It's my absolute favorite food in the world. I want to show you something pretty cool. So, remember a couple of weeks ago I told you that this would be shoulder height. Look at that. Pretty much shoulder height, huh? Amazing. If you've been watching our videos, you'll know that in the winter time, Joaquin was down here with his tractors. He tilled the fields, he planted all of the seeds of all of this stuff. And so it's really cool to see it all springing up and coming to life. And yeah, from these dry, dusty fields all the way to these beautiful, beautiful fields just full of shoulder height stuff. It's amazing. What an absolutely gorgeous day here in central Portugal. Now, I do actually have a little bit of homework that I have to do. I've got a property tour that I'm going to be doing. It's a private video for Louise. Hello, Louise. So I need to do a little bit of homework now and basically figure out exactly how I'm going to be filming that tour. And I'll check back with you guys a little bit later. A couple of days have gone past and well, we're back outside with the geese. We've got them in a little protective ring. This is just when we take them outside to get used to the dogs, you know, so the dogs can't snatch them. They're looking so huge, I can't believe it. And if you look, he's actually growing some feathers on the end of his tail. Some like little white and grey feathers. So Kalina Borna on YouTube basically commented and said that we should name these Portuguese. And I actually thought, I mean, that's hilarious. I actually think that we should call these two together the Portuguese. So these are the Portuguese of the OKportugal farm.
Release the quackins.
Release the quackins. Let's go swimming, guys. Come on. Let's do it. Look how sweet. Look at this. It's a little goose. Right, so it's time to take Goosey-Goose-Goose for a swim. He's going to show you his acrobatics. He's learned some new tricks. So down by our dam we have this, it's called pussy willow. And at the moment it's covered in all of this fluff. And that's lying all over the water. So the water isn't dirty, it's just got that fluff on it. So let's see if we can get these guys to have a little swim for you. You still haven't seen this little one. Come on, geese. Goosey-Goose. I'm not sure if the camera's picking this up, but it's like snowflakes coming down with all of this white fluff. Looks amazing. And here you can see it's all over the ground. So I've decided that geese are way cooler than chickens. You know, chickens are kind of, they're very sort of like prehistoric creatures. They're like little dinosaurs, little raptors. They're very selfish and they're very, you know, like they'll do anything for food or to beat the other chicken turd or something like that, you know. And I mean, they're very cute, but none of our chickens have really bonded with us. Whereas straight off the bat, these geese are just super cute. They really bond with you. They're very funny and kind of, you know, they're just like hilarious little animals.
And very
you know.
talkative.
And very talkative, yeah, yeah. And you can hear when they're getting upset because they're constantly making little peeping sounds and you can hear as their emotions kind of change. So, yeah, I think geese are pretty cool.
Yeah, very funny.
They say never work with children or animals. I'm standing here waiting for these guys to take a swim, which they love doing. And obviously they're not going to swim now. The big goose has learned how to do backflips and it's super funny watching him upside down with his little feet waggling around. So I'm hoping that we can show you that today. Here we go. Good boy. Yeah, come and have a swim.
Like the feet at the back.
Oh, here we go. Do some backflips, dude. Oh, he's wetting the camera. Goosey-Goose. Now the little one doesn't really seem to like swimming. I'm sure she'll figure it out though. Get in there, little goose. Get in there. There we go. He did a backflip. There we go. It's almost like he's too buoyant and he can't sink. And another cool thing about geese as well is they don't seem to mind you touching them. Whereas chickens, they really don't like it if you touch them. I'm sure some people have got like one pet chicken and it's super friendly, but I don't know, we've had about 50 chickens over the last 4 years, and we only had one that would kind of tolerate you, but wasn't all that happy to be petted. Whereas these guys seem to love it. Wow, you can really see all that fluff coming down now. It's like it's snowing. When we first moved into the farm, this dam of ours was just absolutely full of algae and kind of like slimy. It was also very low. It was like, yeah, it just didn't look great at all. And so we bought some goldfish. We bought, I think, 10 goldfish at first, and we put them inside our swimming tank near the house. And then I think about a year after that, so 2 years ago, we took them out, we stuck them in here, and now we've literally got hundreds of them. Unfortunately, this camera doesn't have zoom, but we've got a whole bunch just over there. And there's a whole bunch more just over there. I don't know if the camera's even going to pick up the orange. And since we put those inside the dam, the water's actually gotten a lot better, which is kind of weird because if you have a fish tank, you know, fish can make the water messy. But I think when you've got water on this scale, I mean, this is a huge amount of water. These guys are actually helping to eat the algae, you know, make more oxygen in the water and, yeah, keep the water a little bit cleaner, which is a good thing because I've read that apparently geese really mess up your water. So, yeah, apparently one of these geese poos 1.5 pounds of poo every single day. So imagine that. And another thing I learnt about them is that their manure is hot, and what that means is that you can't use it directly on plants, otherwise it'll burn them. So you do have to compost it, but they are potentially quite good at making manure for your veggies and your plants and things like that. Beep, beep, beep. Beep, beep, beep. Look at this big boy. Edmundo the Serra da Estrela. Our farm protector, our guardian dog. Our livestock guardian dog that just wants to eat all the livestock. Eddie? No, get away. I wanted to show you something. We got a tarpaulin to cover the pool with. I haven't filled up the pool or anything like that yet. But this will just basically stop leaves and dust and all sorts of stuff from falling in. But unfortunately, whoever built this tank didn't actually build it square. This tarpaulin is exactly 3 meters by 3 meters. And as you can see, it doesn't fit properly. So I'm not sure what they were using when they kind of constructed this, but it's definitely not a square. I'm quite looking forward to filling up this pool and spending a couple of afternoons just sitting in the tub with an ice cold beer, looking out over the views. I can't wait. Oh, and I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update on our Vegega raised beds. So these are the veggies and how they're looking. Look how nice and bright and green and healthy everything's looking. It's looking amazing. Got lots of rocket, beetroot, carrots, onions, I think red and white onions. Not sure what else. And then this one was mainly done with seed. So these were planted, these peppers, but the rest of these were all planted with seed, so they haven't really come through properly. I suspect it was a little bit cold when you planted those seeds, and overnight the temperatures were dropping down to about 4 degrees, 3 degrees, so I think that's probably what happened to those seeds. And then in our greenhouse shade house, we've got a cucumber. We bought some peppers. So these are, it's a sweet yellow pepper, a sweet red pepper, they're like the long thin ones. Then we got some asparagus in there, some tomatoes. I visited Joaquin, our neighbor, the other day, and his wife Fernanda, she gave me some little plug plants to put in. Now unfortunately when she gave me the plants, they'd been sitting in a bag for a very long time, so they are a bit wilted, but basically these are cabbages. So obviously these ones aren't going to make it, but the rest of them look like they have a fair chance. And I think maybe when they were pulled out of the ground, some of their roots and stuff like that broke. So anyway, I'm hoping that they will come up, because that also makes really good feed for the chickens. And then we've planted this, which is a camellia. And these grow quite big, and they've got these beautiful flowers on them. So this one's got pink flowers. And I'm assuming that this is going to get pretty big over here. And on this side, we planted something else. This is a callistemon. It kind of looks like a red bottle brush, or the little flowers it has. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to make it, because when we bought it, it was so dry in the pot. And after we planted it into the ground, it's basically just completely dried up. So yeah, I think we're going to have to get another one. But basically it'll be here, and it'll be a big red bottle brush plant. We'll have the camellia in this corner. We're going to plant some bushes and hedges along the sides here. So I think that's going to look pretty good. And as you can see, our lawn is starting to come up. So the lawn's coming up. Unfortunately, there's lots of patches here. This is where the ants basically took all of the seeds. So I'm going to have to reseed those. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. It's a little sneak peek into what we've been up to this week. And before we go, I want to show you a very cool little clip that we caught on our wildlife cams. A big thank you to Browning Cameras for sending us these awesome cameras. And have a look at this clip. It's a little badger, and it's very, very cute. Now, I can't believe it. If you look at the size of him, he actually manages to squeeze through one of the squares in the sheep fencing. That's pretty impressive. So that's it from Ken and Gina and the Portuguese. And well, we'll see you next week.
The wiggly Portuguese.
The wiggly Portuguese. Yeah, and we'll see you next week, same time, for another episode. So tune in and check out our Facebook and Instagram pages. Ciao.